You're tuning into the deep dive, and today we're plunging straight into the heart of a mystery that has gripped America for decades.
The Zodiac
All
Killer.
right. Yeah.
This isn't just another true crime story. It's like a puzzle of brutal violence intertwined with chilling intellect, and it continues to haunt our collective imagination.
It's that unsettling combination, isn't it? The raw horror of the crimes coupled with the calculated taunts and intricate ciphers.
Hmm.
The Zodiac didn't just commit murders, he orchestrated this terrifying public drama. And that's, a key part of why this case endures in our minds.
Exactly. And for you, the listener, you're looking to cut through the noise, right? To understand the essential elements of this complex case without getting bogged down in endless speculation.
Yeah, there's so much out there.
We sifted through the details in this deep dive, focusing on excerpts outlining the core facts to bring you the crucial insights. Our goal is to unpack the timeline of attacks, the victims, and the one survivor who faced them.
Michael Mageau, yeah, and Brian Hartnell. Crucial witnesses. Right, right. The Zodiac's disturbing methods, those infamous letters and codes that baffled authorities, the suspects who emerged over the years, the reasons he vanished without capture, and, well, the lasting shadow this case has cast on our culture. So, let's get into it.
Okay. The period from 1968 to 1974 marks the confirmed sort of reign of terror. While the most intense period of attacks centers around 68 and 69, it's chilling to remember that the Zodiac himself claimed responsibility for a staggering 37 victims.
47, that's huge.
It is. That huge disparity between his claims and the confirmed incidents just underscores the psychological games he was playing.
Okay, so the document we're looking at starts with the horrific events of December 20th, 1968, on Lake Herman Road. Imagine two high school students, Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday, in a secluded spot, just gunned down.
Yeah, it was a brutal introduction to a terror that would soon grip the region. Just awful.
And just a few months later, July 4th, 1969, at Blue Rock Springs, the horror continued with the attack on Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mageau.
Right, and this incident is particularly significant for you to note because, tragically, Darlene died, but Michael survived. His eyewitness account, though undoubtedly traumatic and, probably fragmented,
Of course.
it provided investigators with their first direct description of the assailant. Super important.
Then the violence escalated again, September 27th, 1969, at Lake Berryessa. This attack is especially disturbing because the assailant wore that bizarre mask.
Yeah, the executioner's hood.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
Turning the scene into something almost surreal, Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard were his targets, and while Cecilia sadly didn't survive, Brian lived through the brutal knife attack.
He did, offering another chilling, first-hand perspective, albeit of a masked figure.
You can see perhaps a shift in his MO there, moving from the relative distance of gunfire to the more, intimate and theatrical use of a knife in disguise.
That shift, yeah, from shootings to a knife attack with a costume is fascinating and deeply unsettling. It suggests a potential escalation, maybe, in the killer's need for more direct involvement. A disturbing theatricality creeping into his methods. It's a chilling glimpse into a possibly evolving and increasingly brazen psychopathy.
Wow.
And the final confirmed attack in our sources is October 11th, 1969, in Presidio Heights. Taxi driver Paul Stein was shot and killed. What makes this different for you to consider is that, unlike the previous attacks on couples in isolated areas, this was a seemingly random act in a more public location, middle of the city.
And what's so frustrating about the Stein case is that there were actually eyewitnesses who saw the killer after the shooting.
Right, kids across the street, even police officers briefly encountered someone matching the description nearby.
They even gave a description, but somehow he wasn't apprehended. It's one of those points where you, the listener, might find yourself wondering about those near misses. Those moments where the course of this whole story could have changed with just a slight difference in circumstances.
Absolutely. Tiny moments, huge consequences.
Now, let's talk about the signature of these crimes. What stood out?
Well, the recurring pattern of targeting young couples in secluded locations early on established a terrifying modus operandi that spread fear. Big time.
Right.
And the use of both firearms and knives became a grim hallmark of the confirmed attacks. But beyond the violence itself, the Zodiac introduced another, equally disturbing element: direct communication.
Yes, the truly enigmatic messages. This is where the Zodiac moved beyond just committing crimes and actively engaged the public consciousness by sending these secret ciphers and taunting letters directly to newspapers.
Mostly the San Francisco Chronicle, yeah.
Most famously, the Chronicle. It was as if the act of killing wasn't enough. He needed to control the narrative, to play a psychological game with the authorities and the public.
Precisely. These weren't just anonymous claims of responsibility. They were deliberately crafted to mock the police, to challenge them, to decode his messages and understand his, well, twisted motivations. It was a calculated effort to exert power and maintain a terrifying level of control. And these ciphers, especially the notorious 340-character cipher, or Z340, became an almost mythical challenge for law enforcement and amateur sleuths alike.
Yeah, the code breakers.
For you trying to understand the complexity, imagine trying to solve a Rubik's Cube where you don't even know all the colors on the faces.
Yeah.
That's kind of the level of difficulty these codes presented.
And for 50 long years, that Z340 cipher remained unbroken. A really powerful testament to the complexity of the Zodiac's mind games and the frustration it caused investigators.
Huge frustration.
Then, in 2020, a team of dedicated cryptographers finally cracked it. What's remarkable for you to consider is the sheer persistence of these individuals decades after the initial crimes, highlighting the enduring grip this case has.
It's crucial for you to understand that while the solved cipher offered more insight into the Zodiac's disturbing thoughts and justifications, it wasn't like a confession.
No name.
No name, no smoking gun.
Yep.
It didn't actually reveal his identity. So even with that monumental breakthrough, the core mystery remains stubbornly intact. And let's not forget the visual and verbal signatures, the consistent use of the crosshair symbol on his correspondence.
That's simple, yeah.
And the chillingly formal phrase, "This is the Zodiac speaking." These quickly became instantly recognizable and deeply unsettling trademarks, symbols of the fear he instilled.
These symbols and that phrase really did etch him into the public psyche. Wow. Now, as with any mystery that goes unsolved for so long, the Zodiac case has generated a multitude of suspects and countless theories. Our source material points to two main individuals who have faced intense scrutiny over the years.
Yes, the first, Arthur Lee Allen, is often referred to as the most discussed suspect. And there are understandable reasons for that. Circumstantial evidence, certain aspects of his behavior, they raise numerous red flags for investigators throughout the decades.
Right, he was definitely on their radar.
Oh, yeah. However, despite the long investigation and the persistent suspicion, concrete, irrefutable evidence directly linking him to the Zodiac crimes was never definitively established. Handwriting didn't match, DNA didn't match later on.
Right, no smoking gun there either.
Nope.
And then we have Gary Francis Post, whose name emerged more recently in 2021, with claims suggesting his potential involvement.
Yeah, a private investigative group, the Case Breakers.
Again, it's vital for you to remember, as our source emphasizes, that while connections and theories have been put forward, conclusive proof establishing Post as the Zodiac killer has not been produced. This really highlights a central challenge of this case: the abundance of compelling theories that ultimately lack that definitive piece of evidence.
It does indeed. The source also briefly mentions other theories, notably the idea of military training.
Ah, yeah, the codes and weapons knowledge.
Exactly. This stems from the Zodiac's apparent familiarity with codes and weapons, leading some to speculate about a background in the armed forces. It's an intriguing line of thought for you to consider the idea that his skills might have been honed in a specific environment, even though this, too, remains unproven speculation in the absence of concrete evidence. Lots of speculation in this case.
So with all the investigations, the suspects, the intense public interest, the crucial question remains, why was the Zodiac never caught? What factors allowed him to remain elusive for so long?
Several key factors contributed to this. As the source points out, the forensic technology available in the 1960s was significantly less advanced than what we have today.
Huge difference, I bet.
Oh, massive. For example, DNA analysis, which is so crucial in modern investigations, simply wasn't a tool that investigators could utilize in the early years of the Zodiac case. That technological limitation was a huge hurdle for them to overcome.
That lack of sophisticated forensic tools must have been a major obstacle in their efforts to identify and apprehend him. You just didn't have the tools.
Absolutely. Secondly, the killer himself was clearly cunning and deceptive. His taunting letters and intricate ciphers strongly suggest a deliberate effort to mislead the police, to actively throw them off track.
Playing games.
He seemed to revel in this cat-and-mouse game, enjoying the sense of intellectual superiority and control it gave him. And finally, despite the numerous letters and the various alleged crime scenes, a definitive DNA match linking any specific suspect directly to the Zodiac has never been established to this day. This persistent absence of conclusive physical evidence has been a major stumbling block for law enforcement.
It really paints a picture of a very different investigative landscape back then.
Yeah.
Tough job. Despite never being brought to justice, the Zodiac Killer has undeniably left a deep and lasting mark on American culture.
Undeniably. The case has permeated our pop culture in significant ways. Our source mentions the film Zodiac from 2007.
Great movie, Fincher.
Fantastic film. And the classic Dirty Harry from 1971, both of which directly drew inspiration from the Zodiac's crimes and the pervasive atmosphere of fear that he created.
Yeah, the Scorpio Killer in Dirty Harry was totally based on him.
Totally. And beyond these prominent films, countless documentaries, books, and podcasts continue to delve into and re-examine the intricate details of the case. You can see how this story continues to fascinate and disturb.
It seems the mystery itself, the lack of closure, is a significant part of the enduring draw. Even now, decades later, the source reminds us that law enforcement, journalists, and those incredibly dedicated internet sleuths are still actively working to try and solve this puzzle.
Oh yeah, the online communities are still buzzing.
The Zodiac's letters and ciphers remain subjects of intense study, with people constantly searching for new clues or previously overlooked details. It's almost as if the challenge he presented continues to drive people.
What's particularly striking is how this case has transcended the boundaries of traditional true crime and entered a realm closer to modern folklore. The unsolved nature of the crimes, the cryptic and unsettling messages, the terrifyingly elusive persona it all combines to create a narrative that continues to captivate and deeply disturb the public imagination.
So, as we bring this deep dive to a close, let's quickly recap the key elements for you. We've covered the brutal timeline of the confirmed attacks in the late 1960s, the Zodiac's chillingly taunting messages, and those, incredibly complex ciphers that baffled experts for decades.
Years, yeah.
The main suspects, Allen and Post, who have been under intense scrutiny, and the key reasons why this killer managed to evade capture and justice tech limitations, his cunning.
Lack of DNA.
Right. It's a case that tragically blends violent crime with an almost intellectual puzzle, a mystery that has stumped authorities and fascinated the public for over half a century.
And ultimately, it speaks to our enduring fascination with the unknown, with the unsettling reality of darkness that can exist within the human mind. The Zodiac case serves as a stark and unsettling reminder of the profound fear and uncertainty that can be inflicted by a single, unidentified individual operating in the shadows.
Absolutely. And that brings us to the compelling question posed in our source material, a question that continues to hang over this entire disturbing enigma. Do you, the listener, think the real identity of the Zodiac Killer will ever be definitively revealed in the future?
But a big question.
Or is it destined to remain a chilling mystery forever locked away in the annals of unsolved crimes? It's a provocative thought, something for you to consider long after this deep dive concludes, perhaps even sparking your own further exploration into this endlessly fascinating and unsettling case. Thanks for joining us.